Hello and welcome to SuperAge. My name is David Stewart. I'm the founder of Ageist. At SuperAge, we help you live better and become the best version of yourself. And who doesn't want a SuperAge? Today on the show we have Robin Connelley. And Robin co-founded Chosen Experiences with her partner Jan Stanton. And Robin is just a fascinating person. You're going to love her. She's so kind and giving, but she is a total badass who it's just fascinating. So they just a little quick background on them. We're going to call her, and we're going to get this in her own words. But my understanding is that she and John had been in the world of cleantech VCs. They were VCs for about 10 years, which is a pretty intense world. And what they found was that the main asset of a company are the founders. And these founders were really not taking care of themselves. They were constantly burnt out, and they were, it's just, it was intense. So what they realized was, like, if you want to change the world, well, let's impact the people that are doing that are changing the world. And how can we help them to be happier or to perform better? And from that, they created Chosen. So it says here on their site that their mission statement, Chosen's mission is to create and support a global community of individuals to explore themselves and the world around them. Chosen's signature programs encourage living in a meaningful, high-performance, values-based lifestyle with self-belief at its core, designed for an immediate and measurable impact. Our alumni call this the Chosen effect. Now, I've known both John and Robin for I don't know, quite a while now, maybe not that long, like 8 or 10 months. We saw each other in Singapore at the Global Wellness Summit where I keynoted, and they came up to me and they're like, "Hey, who are you? You like stole our whole brand book. You said everything that we do." And we've been like good friends ever since then. They're really lovely people, and I had the honor of taking their first resilience course, which was their first digital offering that they did in the spring, and I still review that, truthfully every morning. I go through my notebook and I follow, what they taught me. It's been super helpful. We're going to give Robin a call in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Elysium Health and their new product Matter for long-term brain health. You've all seen the articles I've written on Ageist about Elysium Health, and you know how enthusiastic I am about being healthy and tracking my health. I've been taking their NAD Plus supplement Basis for years, and I monitor my biological health with Index. Now they've released their second supplement, Matter, for long-term brain health, created in partnership with the University of Oxford. If you're taking a typical omega-3, you should switch to Matter because it contains a superior omega-3 that is 3 to 4 times more bioavailable than the standard omega. And SuperAge listeners can get 15% off Matter by visiting explorematter.com/superage and using the promo code SuperAge, all one word. That's explorematter.com/superage and the promo code SuperAge. Save yourself 15%. Hey, Robin, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Where are you?
I'm in Bali, Indonesia.
What are you doing in Bali? What's up with that? What's it like working in Bali? It's like a dream, right?
It is, yes. It's a very slow-paced place, and there's a beach not very far away, which is very nice. So, and there's a lot of really interesting energy and culture here. So it's a very chill place. There's a significant expat community here, and it's island life. So,
and with COVID, are you able to come and go, or are you just there? Or no, you're there. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if it's an emergency, I could figure it out. I think they do some repatriation flights, but there's only a few places that I can go, and it's quite strict and quite tedious.
Wow. So, you're sort of a performance expert. one of your many skill sets. So I got to ask you, like, what did you do? Like, what time is it now?
It is 8:12 a.m.
8:12 Bali time. I love saying Bali time. It's really fun. Bali time. What did you? What did you do? What time did you get up?
I got up about 6:40.
And what did you do between 6:40 and now?
I do a meditation, usually somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes, depending on how I'm feeling. I typically get straight up, brush my teeth, and then take my dog straight to the beach for a walk.
Oh, right on. What kind of dog you got?
I have a Bali dog, and they are essentially one of the oldest breeds of dogs. They're basically wild dogs.
Wait, there's whoa. There's an actual thing called a Bali dog?
Yes.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'd never heard, I'm sorry, I thought you were just making that up. But so how big, how much does a Bali dog weigh?
So my Bali dog weighs around 17 kilos, but she should really probably be more like 14 kilos. So she's a little bit, we feed her well.
So 2.2 pounds. So she's about 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yes, she's sort of like a mid-size dog, like comes up to your knee kind of thing. Yeah.
And what kind of, I'm fascinated. There's a thing called a Bali dog. I love dogs. I've never seen anyone who says, oh, I've got a Bali dog. Because they're only on Bali, of course. Does it have, what's the fur like? What does a Bali dog look like? I'm trying to imagine this.
Well, so they're wild. So basically they mainly breed with each other. And then of course, sometimes because tourists or travelers bring in purebred dogs, sometimes they get mixed in, but mostly a pure Bali dog there's kind of 4 colors. There's white and black, pure white, pure black, and then there's kind of like a brindle.
Is this a wild dog?
Mm-hmm.
This is a wild animal. You have domesticated a wild animal. It's like,
well,
like a coyote?
When we say wild, so what happens is they're typically village dogs. So in Bali, the locals live in villages, and then so the dogs don't live in their house, and they don't, get bathed, and they don't sleep inside. They sleep outside, and they run in these little packs, but they're essentially there for security. So if anyone comes into the village at night or is coming to someone's house and the dog has that territory, then they bark to let them know. And they actually also put their entire body in front of their feet so that they slow them down while they let their owner know that someone's coming. It's this very interesting thing. And you don't train them to do that. They just do it on instinct.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, she's super smart. They're very smart. So she rides on my scooter in the front on the floor, but she can also jump onto the seat behind me on a motorcycle. She can literally stand behind me and balance while I drive her.
Whoa.
It's amazing. And I never taught her that. She just did it one day. And I was just like, okay, so you can do this now. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Things that we learn at the SuperAge podcast. Bali dogs. Who knew? Chosen. What's Chosen?
Chosen is a learning company that's focused around building a community of lifelong learners, explorers, and people who are interested in greater performance. And we started doing in real life events, and we started doing in-person events. Mainly, we started in Bali. So Bali is our headquarters. And we would bring people in for a week and curate the entire week to what we call an ideal week, which is based on science and a lot of research around when's the best time to work out, when's the best time to eat once you do that type of workout, and what do you eat when you do that type of workout. And then we kept building it up to add brain health and mental performance. So we would do yoga in the evenings, yoga nidra, teach meditation, teach mindfulness, and then also have lessons basically throughout the day about self-care, about performance, about learning more about yourself. And we bring in groups of people and we curate these experiences for them. Now, in addition to that, basically when everyone leaves and goes home, they say, okay, how do I do this on my own at home? And so we also have online virtual courses, programs that basically lead them through continued learning in their life so that they can continue to design and evolve their lifestyle around whatever their objectives are. So it's their optimal life for what their life objectives are.
Okay, but now tell me about the helicopters and the glaciers. And like, I go on your site and it's like, it just looks like we're not doing this in a classroom, right? There's no. So, what, so tell me like, so tell me helicopters, glaciers, like there's like stuff going on. Why?
Yeah.
What are you doing with that?
Well, primarily it's about learning, right? It's about learning new things. And so the idea that we had was we want to learn new skills. We want to continue learning through our life. So how do we set ourselves up to best do that? Well, the first version of learning the most you can over the longest period of time in your life is that you need to take care of yourself first. So you need your brain to be operating optimally so that it can learn new information, retain that information. You need your body to be operating optimally so that, you're not distracted because you're hungry or because you ate something that didn't make you feel well the night before, or you didn't get enough sleep, or all of those are sort of distractions that we try to minimize through the self-care program. And then on top of that, we're looking for learning new things. And a lot of that's through challenge. So the key here is starting to build people to a place where they can be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? It's exploring that whole area where, okay, I don't know what's about to happen. I feel kind of anxious about what's about to happen. Is this going to be something great and amazing, or is this scary and confusing and I don't like it? So I pull away from it. So we play with that kind of area, that gray area. And we try to teach you the science behind why you might react one way or the other. And then we try to train you or teach you to have a practice around leaning towards the more excitement, curiosity around learning new things. And so to keep people learning new things, a lot of that is around adventure, a lot of that is around travel. So if you want to teach people to learn new things, like what we did last year was we went into New Zealand and we had a helicopter fly us over the back of the Remarkables near Queenstown, and drop us into this sort of valley with these 3 huge snow-covered mountains around us. And we sat down for the day basically, and we learned all kind of snow survival skills. So we learned all the things that you need to basically climb the 7 summits. And so we had these experts there, and they dropped us in as a group. And we played with the concepts of flow state. We played with, taught everyone what survival gear you need, how to set up, how to layer, how to prepare for cold weather situations, and then how to do avalanche training, how to do snowshoeing, how to do ice climbing, all of these things, how to build a ice cave, which was one of the coolest things. So we literally built an igloo, like a snow cave, on the ground there that you could survive in. You needed to sleep inside of that. So this is one example of, just an interesting thing that when would you learn that? Who's going to teach you that? There aren't that many circumstances on the planet that you would get taught these things, but they can be very useful. And then once you learn these new kind of unique things, you can learn, okay, I love snow, or actually I don't like snow so much, or I like snow better now because I'm more comfortable because I understand the survival mechanics behind it. You can also then take those learnings and apply them to all the other areas of your life. Like how can you interpret what you learned from this survival training into other areas of your life to continue with this optimal lifestyle design that we're encouraging you to do. So lots of fun things. I mean, the biggest thing is have a lot of fun. And so that's what we do as often as possible. Try to create these very unique experiences that aren't common, that give you a great experience and a unique story, but also is a lot of fun and bonding with, your peers and people like you.
So if I'm learning to I'm trying to think about this, right? So you're teaching me how to climb an ice wall or something, or
Mm-hmm.
how to rope up across a glacier. All right,
Yes.
that's a pretty focusing activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have my full attention if you've got me like Spider-Man up a wall of ice. That's all I'm concentrating on. You,
Exactly.
and so, do you find it like that? So you do that to someone, and they're like, unless they're an ice climber, they're really out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
And then they sort of achieve this to some level. They're not dead. They've survived. We hope.
We
Um,
haven't lost anyone yet, just to be really clear.
okay, good. That's good. All right. We'll put that on the front of the site. 100% non-fatality rate. Right. Okay. So then
Well, I mean, I think that's really important because you do feel there are a lot of situations that your body, your instinct says, I am about to die. And that
right.
can be really scary. And the
Right.
thing that we're trying to emphasize is that if you have the skills, if you have the awareness and the focus and the presence, then these allegedly dangerous situations can be much safer because you're present, because you're aware, because you're paying attention, because you're thinking things through in a different way than, not a distracted or fearful way, but in a, I'm determined, I'm focused, I've made a decision that I'm going to do this. And then also, obviously, when we plan trips, there are guides there. And I think that's a key part of it is that you need, in order to properly challenge yourself, you need a guide to show you the next level of skill set. In order to increase your skill set, there needs to be someone to teach you what the next appropriate level of skill is for you at that moment. And that is the thing that we're actually exploring.
So, okay. So now you've got me. So now I'm up the wall. I'm down the wall. I've survived. I'm part of the 0 fatality statistics. Great. I feel really good about that. Now, how does this translate? Like, I'm probably never, maybe very infrequently in my life, ever going to have a chance to like exercise my new ice climbing skill set. But how do you use that learning, whatever it is that I learned there, into some new challenge that I may, in my sort of indoor lifestyle business world? How does that translate?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, and that's exactly the point, right? It's about a practice of learning new things. If you can say, I go into a mountain, I could build a snow cave and climb a mountain. That gives you an air, and you are like, okay, I would never have thought that I could do that. I never even thought about that as an option, as something for me to learn or to try. And I did it. And once I got through the other side, I saw that it wasn't as scary as I perceived it in the beginning. So my expectation was that it was potentially dangerous or scary. And then my experience was that I learned something new. I actually quite enjoyed it. I made it to the other side. So even if I didn't properly enjoy it, on the other side, I see that there's a sense of accomplishment, and I did something that scared me. I overcame that. Then it's starting to build a practice of being comfortable in that area. So starting to build a practice of trying new things more regularly. And that's going to allow you to grow and to continue basically a practice of growth in your day-to-day life, which is what we think is very important, is that choice of I choose to accept more and more challenges each day in my life so that I can learn new things, so that I can continue to build my knowledge base. And so if you take that back to your business, it would be, okay, maybe I'm thinking of spinning something off or starting something new, but that's quite scary and I don't actually know what I'm doing. Does that mean now that you should avoid that? Or because you've had this experience that something that you didn't understand or you didn't expect happened on this trip that we had, then you can translate that into, okay, things that I don't know about aren't necessarily bad. They can also end up really good and really promising. So I know that I need, a skill set to do this that I don't have. Okay, well, what we did there is we had a guide. So maybe I need to find a guide or someone who can help support me in this. And then that's step one. So you kind of already get past what I think is the hardest part, which is that first part that's like, okay, what do I do when I want to do something or I'm challenged to do something that I'm uncertain of? And that is, be present, be confident, be okay and curious. The biggest thing is to just be curious about it, and then to start to collect information. And that can be research, or it can be finding a guide that will take you through. So it's this idea of not getting stagnant in life, of moving towards a life of continual growth.
Well, that brings me to you.
Yes.
So I know a little bit about your background. Tell me where you're from. Texas?
I'm from South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were in Texas. Where did I get Texas from? School in Texas?
Oh, John went to UT.
Oh, okay. John, your partner went there. So I heard this rumor. I don't know if this is true, but something about like you were in law school and you were kickboxing. Is this right?
Yes.
And you weren't just kickboxing. You were what? Like ranked?
Yeah. So I was a competitive kickboxer. So we would train and have fights and go to competition and all kinds of fun stuff. But basically I trained all through law school as a fighter.
So you're in law school and you're, this is not like an aerobics class. This is full contact. You're kicking people and they're kicking you.
100%. Yeah. Full contact.
Yeah. Okay. So you're fighting. All right. I love that. So now now my recollection is you weren't just any kickboxer. You were a nationally ranked kickboxer.
Yes.
Yeah. What was the number?
I was ranked 2 for a bit, but in the end, when I retired, I was ranked number 3.
You retired at 3. The number 3 ranked woman kickboxer at your weight level in the country.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that says something. So let's just hold that here. And then while you're doing this, which most people would think would be a really pretty time demanding activity, you have this other thing going on, which is you're in law school. And I mean, I've heard law school is somewhat demanding. Maybe that's a rumor. Maybe it's just nothing. I don't know.
No, it's quite demanding. It's very demanding.
Right. So now you've got these two simultaneous things. You're the number 3 kickboxer in the country, and you're in law school. How do you do that?
Well, first,
how does that work?
Yeah. So first I kickboxed before I went to law school. So I started kickboxing in high school. I started with the martial arts side of it. And so I worked my way up, and then I started sparring, and I added in some jujitsu. So I was already a kickboxer. I would fight some, but not regularly. And then after I got into law school, when I was applying to law school, actually, I was looking for a place that I could keep kickboxing, and that was really important to me. And so when I chose the school that I ended up going to,
you got to tell me, what is the school that a ranked kickboxer decides to go to? Like, what is that like in their like promo stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't, because it was definitely unusual for them as well. But basically I went to law school in St. Louis. So in St. Louis, there's a very good kickboxing community there. And yeah, and they're great, and they're well trained, and they know what they're doing. And that's actually not that easy to find. And it's actually still going now. It's a pretty deep legacy of kickboxing training coming out of St. Louis. So I ended up going to St. Louis, and the reason I chose that law school was partially because of a scholarship that I got there, but also partially because they had a kickboxing community that I could, not the school, but the city of St. Louis had a kickboxing scene basically that I could come into. And I have vetted a trainer that could train me and that had the skills and everything I needed basically to continue my learning in kickboxing. And actually, while no one else was doing this where I was, and I'm sure some people do it sometimes, but it's actually really good, in my opinion, to do law school, which is reading, just reading and writing all the time, basically, and countering that with the stress relief of going into a totally different environment and a totally different community of
fighting
kickboxers and fighting. Yeah.
Fighting. Yes.
And you don't talk much, you're just like going at it, but it's just like a physical release over here. While in law school, you're just talking and debating and like writing and reading and, analyzing all the time. So it's actually a pretty nice kind of counterbalance.
Did you ever come to class like with like wounds?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, that's why I ended up retiring, because I would come in with a black eye or a bloody lip. And that sometimes the professors would be like, can I talk to you? Do we need to have a conversation? And so once I graduated law school and decided, I was going to go to do my MBA, but as soon as I, was moving into the professional world, I knew that I couldn't keep showing up with the bruises and the cuts and the things anymore. So that's why I actually ended up retiring.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have an abusive boyfriend or what's going on?
Yeah, they're like, is something wrong? So I had to kind of have talks with all my professors. Like, okay, I fight, I do this after class. I do this on the weekends. So.
And you should see the other guy.
Yeah.
All right. So you go through like kickboxing, law school, and then you get your MBA. Where'd you get your MBA?
At the Said Business School in Oxford in the UK.
Ooh. And so why'd you do that?
So I have kind of a strange, I guess it's not overly strange, but basically my dad is an entrepreneur and my grandfather was an entrepreneur. So when we were helping out in my family business when I was younger, I basically realized, maybe early in high school, that there were two areas of expertise that were sort of missing from my family knowledge, and that was law and finance. So my undergrad is in finance, and then I knew I was going to go do a JD MBA, which is normally you can do a combined program. But I wanted to do at least one of my degrees internationally. And so I ended up deciding to do law school first and do that inside of America. Because that's a JD, which is a doctorate program. Outside of America, a law degree is actually usually an undergrad degree, so it's a bit different. And so I did the law degree in the US, so then I knew I wanted to do an MBA internationally. And you'd be surprised, there aren't that many English-speaking programs outside of the US. So I narrowed it down to Oxford and IESE, which is in Barcelona, and ended up choosing Oxford because it's Oxford. Like it's such a unique situation and such a beautiful experience that I was so grateful and lucky to have. And so it was sort of like, mystical Oxford. They've been teaching there for, 900 years or something. It's crazy. And they have all these beautiful towers and, just this whole vibe there it's just amazing. It was a really cool experience. So that's why I chose to go there. Plus it was in English. Plus they have a really, really strong diversity of students, which is what I was primarily looking for, to learn from people from very different cultures.
And you're the kickboxing attorney from the US.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Right on.
That was my place in the class.
Yeah. Don't mess with her. Bad idea. So then I remember I want to get to like the whole like beginning of Chosen. And so you met your partner, John, there. And then you guys entered like the wild world of VC.
Yes.
And so tell me like, you don't have to tell me the details of that, but I know that there were some lessons learned there that led you to Chosen.
Yes. So effectively, we decided to start a venture capital firm in Dubai in 2007, which was a really that economy was just blazing in 2007. It was insane. It was just such a unique experience just to see, to experience something like that, like a young economy that's booming in that way. And, there were cranes on the skyline, and I'm talking not like 3 or 4, I'm talking hundreds of cranes on the skyline 24/7. I mean, you could look at them at 4 in the morning, you could look at them at 1 in the afternoon. They're going all day long, just building and building. It was insane. So we went there, and our objective was to begin a venture capital company that would focus in clean tech, so clean energy, clean water solutions, which are important for the desert. And what we ended up learning after 10 years of this, basically, which was partially spent in Dubai, partially spent in Hong Kong, was that the people that we were investing in, the inventors, the business leaders, the people that were creating these very influential and potentially extremely impactful environmental solutions, were dedicating their life to their life purpose, right? They were dedicating their life to saving the environment. But the big problem that we saw was that they weren't investing enough time and energy into themselves. So you had a very burned out, stressed out person who was desperately trying to push forward to save the environment. And that meant sacrificing everything, their time, their relationships, their self-care, and ultimately their health for this save the environment. But because the environment outside of them was so stressful, because you're in a startup and you're trying to bring something new to market, it's a very stressful thing and it's very unpredictable. And basically by the time they got to that point where the business needed to have a little bit of resilience, needed to be able to adapt to, different investors from different countries coming in and things like that, they were already so well past being burned out that they couldn't be effective. And oftentimes there were a lot of stress decisions being made that weren't long-term decisions. They were very short-term decisions for survival. And that's where we decided to create Chosen, was that we weren't sure how to overcome that from an investing point of view. And what we figured out was that we actually needed to support the people that were building those solutions on an individual basis. And we needed to figure out a way to support them and supporting themselves so that they could perform at higher levels for longer amounts of time. And that's the only way we were going to get these environmental solutions all the way through this very long marathon journey of creating something and then bringing it as a solution into the market, getting it funded, creating, the manufacturing, the distribution, the sales, like the whole build out, which takes, you're talking years and years and years. You're talking anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30 years. These are brick and mortar solutions. They're not, online solutions. And so you have to be ready for this really long journey. And we ultimately decided that we needed to build something that would support these people and teach them, the minimum amount of self-care that they need to put in and continued learning so that they could continue to be creative in their innovation, but also be available and present with a clear mindset all the way through the entire process. And that's how we created Chosen.
I think that's, I think for SuperAge, I think this is really crucial. That the idea is like if you want to changing the world is a big deal. That's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's stressful. And the thing what I love about what you guys do is you figured out that like if you want to do that, if you want to have impact in the world, have positive impact on the people who are having impact on the world. Like that's the key. Like you figured out, like that's the key. And I think that's really fascinating.
100%. And it gets really exciting because I think, they were already coming up with very innovative and creative solutions. And I'm super curious once we start, putting these communities of people who are what we call optimized together, meaning that they prioritize a certain amount of self-care. I'm really curious because that will also increase their creativity,
right?
Their capacity for problem solving,
right?
So I'm super curious about what kind of future we can create when we have a significant number of these people in the marketplace, and then also have them interacting with each other and exchanging ideas and knowledge with each other.
That's 100%. It's really, like I know for myself, like I need to, like if I'm diminished, the whole enterprise is diminished. So I have to, as hard as it is to like kind of slow down and stop or, do the things that I need to do, that's really the key. And I like, this word that you talk about self-care. So let's talk about, because that's really, a lot of what we're talking about here. Like, I think what you said earlier, like you have to have a certain level of brain health and rest and physical self-care before you can learn, before your imagination can kick in. If you're in survival mode, you're not being very curious. You're just like, just get me through the next 10 minutes.
100%.
So what does self-care mean to you?
So that's a big question. Over the last 10 years, what I've learned, and there's been a lot of trial and error, but self-care to me means I've kind of brought it down to 4 key areas, at least the first foundational 4 key areas. So I think everyone needs to start with brain health, which I also call mental performance. Nutrition is very important. Movement, a movement practice, and also a recovery practice. And I think if you cover those 4 areas, which what I find is that the majority of people do not cover those 4 areas, but I like to create a default plan. So what I like to do is I like to cover these 4 areas and have a default day planned out effectively for myself. And I say, okay, this is how I'm going to move. This is how I'm going to eat. This is how I'm going to recover. And this is what I'm going to do for my brain health today. And that's basically what I want to do as many days as possible of the year. And so I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, what's today? Today's default plan. Like, it's go day, which means we do everything in the way that I've planned it. Now, I'm not in control of everything. And sometimes that gets, that goes sideways first thing in the morning, or it might make it all the way to the afternoon and then it goes a little bit sideways. But if I decrease the amount of distraction that I add in there from having an ability to make on the go decisions. If I say, okay, I don't feel like making the decision today because I have a busy day, then I just default to this plan that is good for me, that I've made it from a place of knowing that it takes care of myself. Then that way I don't have to make as many decisions in my life and in my day. And my goal for myself personally is just to do that, 51% of the time. So more often than not. That way it's not too rigid. I don't think, I need to get up every day and do it exactly. And I don't have any guilt or shame around not doing it if I don't do it sometimes. Basically, I kind of allow life to pop up in the middle and take over if it wants to. Like if someone invites me out to dinner and I'll say, yeah, I'll come to dinner. I had this other healthy dinner planned, but I'll come out and come to dinner with you. And then the next night, if no one asks me to dinner, then I default to my health plan. So I leave a lot of room for spontaneity because I think that's really important. And I enjoy, the kind of fun, spontaneous things in life. But what I've found is as an entrepreneur is having that default plan. Like the default plan is I'm going to eat organic vegetables. I'm going to eat chicken or fish, sustainably sourced. And I'm going to probably have, I'm going to have some good fat in there, and I'm not going to have, sugar, and I'm mostly going to have water or herbal tea as the default. And then everything else that happens is totally okay. But I don't default. And I think this is where a lot of people go wrong, is that they default to, okay, now I realize I'm hungry. I haven't thought about what I'm going to eat. So I'm just going to grab whatever seems the most convenient or easiest for me right now because I can't think about it and I don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with that right now. And that's where I find I make the worst decisions. So this is the type of self-care program that I've put in place for myself and that I would definitely recommend people creating for themselves. My default is also, at least 8 hours of sleep. My default is at least 10 minutes of meditation each day. I like to try to learn something new as well. So read a book or do an online course or something, even for just 10 or 15 minutes of the day. And then the last part is some movement. So I like to have movement at least 4 days a week in my default plan. So if you have these 4 areas covered, which is recovery, movement, nutrition, and some sort of brain health / mental performance, mental clarity, which decreases your stress levels, basically. That is a very solid base self-care program. And everything else on top of that is just extra, which is awesome too.
That sounds great. Yeah, I love that. it's good to have the default. Like you just
Mm-hmm.
know, like, okay, I'm supposed to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me,
Exactly.
it's
And you
just
don't even think about it.
yeah. I mean, like I just, it's like my responsibility to make sure there's food here. So at 1 o'clock, I don't like totally lose my shit and like make a bad decision.
100%. 100. And and it's not like it's our instinct to do that. That's in our nature to do that. So that's what we do at Chosen. And what we've learned is that we've learned the science, and then we're creating systems to help counterbalance that instinctual reaction that we have, which is like, just give me anything now, and preferably it's got sugar and a lot of fat in it, because that's what when you're starving, that's what your body's going to crave.
And you mentioned something earlier. I get this idea that you're this, like you ask yourself, like, what do I need today? Like, or
Mm-hmm.
and so this sort of is this evolving every day, or how does that
Yeah.
work?
So basically, I learned this check-in process that I really like. And what I do is I say, okay, first, how am I feeling in my body? So most of the time I do this on my beach walk each day. But if for some reason I don't go on my walk, I can just do it anywhere. It can take, 1 minute, or it can take an hour. Sometimes it takes me 30 minutes of just exploring what my body is telling me today, what my mind is telling me today. So the first thing I do is I start and say, okay, how is my body feeling? Is there any pain anywhere, any tightness, any numbness? I can also do a quick body scan. What does my body need from me today? And a lot of times that's like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of stretching because my back feels a little bit tight. Okay, I feel a little bit of um, digestive issue because maybe I ate sugar yesterday or something like that. So today I'm not going to eat sugar. Today I'm going to have my vitamins. I'm going to have a lot of water. And I'm going to, help my body heal from that, because that's what it's telling me it needs today. And I have this little conversation with my body, and I say, okay, what do I need to do for her today? And then I name out those things, and then that becomes kind of my daily routine. So a lot of times that involves some sun salutations. I do dancing. Dancing is a lot of fun. I usually do some like emotional expression. Am I having an exciting day or a happy day or a sad day or whatever? And I get corresponding music, and I just sort of let my body move to it. I like that a lot. I do about 9 minutes of hanging upside down, which is also really good for my hips and my back, because since I'm spending so much time in front of the computer, this sort of allows an extension through my back
How do
and
you
my
hang upside
spine.
down? What do you do?
I have luckily the lady that lived in the house before me was an Iyengar yoga instructor. So she has these brackets in my wall. And I tie this, basically it's sort of like a yoga strap thing that I tie to it. And then I get in with a rope around my hips. And then you just sort of lean back and bend your legs around the strap. And so you just hang upside down in kind of a yoga pose, basically. Um, and I'm lucky enough to have that in my home. So I just go over there and just do it. But I build up to 9 minutes. I started with like 2 minutes. But yeah, so far for me, that's been really good because I have compression in my lower back. So it lengthens my spine, which is really good for me. And then I also do some abs, some Pilates stuff. And then I'm like, okay, that's what my body needs today. So I create a little system for what my body told me it needed today. And then I move on to my intellect, which is like, the to-do list. What are all the things that are on the top of my mind that I'm worried about or that I'm thinking about? And I write those down and I say, okay, what time of the day am I going to deal with each of these things so that they're not always kind of sitting in my head? And then the third thing I talk to myself about is, what emotions am I feeling today? And I think I've done this with you. I use an emotion chart for that because we tend to default to the same kind of base emotions. And so I use an actual chart that I look at and I explore all this, there's 27 different emotions, I believe, at least, and then all these little derivations of that. And so I explore which ones of those I'm feeling today. Usually it ends up being like 5 or 6, and they're actually countering each other. So I can feel anxious, but also determined, things that don't necessarily go together. I find that I can feel them both at the same time. And so then I ask myself, what do I need to deal with that? Like how can I support myself in dealing with these emotions that are coming up for me today, and why are they coming up? Then this keeps going. Then I talk about, what do I desire? What's my purpose, sort of thing today. And then lastly, spiritually, how am I doing today? Which I have an affirmation that I do, which is just, again, it kind of aligns with my purpose. Where am I heading? Like, who do I want to be today? And where am I trying to get to? And what do I need to do to support myself in that today? So that actually ends up basically, for this short time in the morning, planning out my entire day. But as you can see, the priority is me first. And then I go in and put in my business to-dos on top of that. But I have the base program, which is things that I'm meeting each day. And there's space for me to change it each and every day. Because some days I don't want to move. Like, I don't feel like moving is a good idea. Instead, I might need to get a massage, or I might need to just take a walk in nature, like a really slow, chill walk, or I might want to do a run. All of that just changes day to day based on how I'm feeling each morning when I wake up.
And so we don't give people the idea that, like, you're one of these people that just do that all day. You have this like super busy thing that you do all day, right? This is just to get you ready for that.
Yeah. And honestly, all the things that I come up with, which it sounds like a lot when I talk it out, but it all just happens in my head pretty quickly. So like I said, I can do this in 5 minutes. So I can take 5 minutes to do that. And then maybe the amount of time, let's say it takes 5 minutes, then the rest of everything I plan would take, accumulation of 45 minutes or max an hour of self-care that I do in the day. But I just determine when and how that will happen. And just go ahead and take that out up front. And then I work your normal, 8-hour day after that.
Yeah. Okay. It reminds me of, like, in the airplane, they say, like, put the mask on you first before you like deal with anything else. Right. You pass 100%. Out, you're no good to anybody.
100%, especially now, like during COVID, it's gotten, what I'm telling you now is what I'm using for my resilience, for my, for an extremely stressful environment. And then the more stressful everything is, then the more weight and time I need to put into taking care of myself. And that's, that's just basic mathematics. Like, I need more recovery because I'm dealing with more stress.
Yeah. Okay. So bonus round here, influential books. I know you guys are like really big on, learning and learning about learning.
Yes.
Give us top 3.
Okay. Right now, I'm huge into Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. It is having a huge impact on my life. I'm actually reading it and listening to it at the same time. And this is the second time I've done this in the last 6 months. I am really in a learning state about communication right now. And so this is sort of my go-to book that I'm interacting with every single day, and then trying to practice what he's teaching to me on a regular basis. And I find it's amazing and brilliant. And this is something everyone should read, in my opinion. It would make the world such a better place if we could all speak to each other from a nonviolent place. And that doesn't mean violence as in like kickboxing. It means English, the way that the English language is set up, is kind of inherently violent because it doesn't seek a deeper understanding. And then the way you phrase things and the way that we're taught to phrase things means certain things to other people that we could phrase them a bit differently so that they're softer, so there's more space for curiosity, basically. And the next book that I love is Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. He's amazing, and that book had a profound impact on my life. I basically read it once a year, and pretty much every time I read it, I have these aha moments over and over and over again. So he's amazing, and that book is profound. And then I like anything from Brene Brown. I've read all of her books. I listen to her podcast. I love her. She's amazing. And then the last one I'll throw in is I love science fiction. So one of the biggest, this year I finished the Foundation series.
Asimov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're coming out with the film or the TV series. I don't know which one, but I think they're coming out with the film, which is going to be amazing next year. I'm so excited. And I love the Three Body Problem, which is this amazing science fiction series out of China. And it's so well done. And they're going to create a movie on that too. So I'm super excited about that.
I spoke with my my buddy Jonathan Chung the other day, who did a pod about books, and he was telling me that every CEO of like all the big important, like sort of, Bill Gates and Elon and all those people, they're like huge science fiction guys. And I think you and I have talked about this. Like the value of science fiction is the expansion of the imagination, which is like a whole other muscle. Like to think about what can be is kind of great. So let's tell me, like, if people want to get in touch with you and they want to become chosen and they want to join your gang and they want to learn about all this stuff that you guys are so masterful at, what do they do?
They can reach out to us at contact@experiencechosen.com. Our website for the in real life experiences, which are on pause for 2020, but we'll start back up next year, is chosenexperiences.com. And then our virtual programs and experiences are on www.thisischosen.com.
And I'm not a ranked kickboxer, and I'm not like a Taiwanese tech billionaire. So can anyone come, or do they have to be like superhumans?
Yeah, no, anyone can come. Basically, the thing that we're looking for are people who are open and curious. If there's an open and curious mindset, then you want to come, then I think it would be a great thing for you. I mean, primarily, that's really the only criteria, is that you're open and curious to learn new things. And that's the type of people that we're looking for. And that's the type of people that we want to support. So if that sounds like you, then take a look and reach out for sure.
Awesome. I love you guys. I love what you're doing. I love all the people you've introduced me to. They're all extraordinary human beings, and you're doing good stuff there. So
thank you, Alex. I'm a big fan of yours too. We have a lot of in common, a lot of common values, and I think I'm excited to see what you're going to do next as well. And I love your community. They're amazing.
Thank you. You just send me a picture of your dog. I gotta know what a Bali dog is. I feel this is big like black hole in my knowledge that there's a thing called a Bali dog, and I don't know what a Bali dog is. So she's
amazing.
Learn.
I'll send you over a picture for sure. She's beautiful.
Wonderful. All right, Robin, have a wonderful day in Bali, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah.
So I think that they're doing a new Chosen Digital event fairly soon. So you might want to check that out on their site. And they do sort of regular community events. Once you're part of their gang, you're like you're like a it's like the mob. It's like you're made. So they do like all kinds of monthly events to keep people connected. And I've been on maybe 3 or 4 of those events, and I got to tell you, the other people on the calls are just mind blowing. Really incredible human beings. They do great work over there at Chosen. Highly recommend them. So if you like the show today, hey, help us out, man. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, leave a comment, tell everybody that we're awesome, and get them to listen. Because we're not mediocre age, right? We're super age. Give us a listen, wherever you are, you're working out, you're riding a bike, you're like in your car, you're doing whatever. We want to be part of your lives. If you want to contact me directly, you can just hit me up. Send me an email, david@superage.com, and I'll get back to you. If there's somebody you think should be on the show, some kind of questions you want answered, we've got a whole ton of, world-renowned experts on just a range of topics coming up about how to super age your life. All right, we'll see you next week. Have a great one. Thanks.